Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome. This is weekly live Q&A for the global community of complex trauma survivors who are healing from adverse childhood experiences. This is a safe place for you to come and just have a weekly discussion with us. We show up here every week. We've been doing that since 2014, and you're welcome here. We're going to be talking specifically tonight about books that aid our complex trauma recovery journey and aid in our self-care. How is it that we can take better care of ourselves or learn how to take care of ourselves to begin with if we came from an environment where those types of things were not taught to us? Perhaps you weren't taught how to care for yourself. Maybe you grew up in an environment where if you said, "I'm hungry," no, you're not. "I need new shoes," no, you don't. We were just talking on one of our daily calls about just the different things that, we had a felt sense, a need that needed to be met, perhaps when we were younger. And we tried to speak up about that need, and our needs were not met. And so what that does is not only does that damage our intuition, and it causes us to not trust ourselves and make healing from complex trauma all that more difficult, but it affects our relationships. It affects our relationship not only with ourselves, right? But it affects our relationship with our spouse, with our partner, with our children, the relationship we have with our boss or our coworkers, the relationship we have with our friends, loved ones, the relationships that we have, that even our oldest, dearest friends in the world, right? The relationship we have to money or abundance or wealth. Like, how do we feel about that kind of a thing? The relationship we have with food, right? The relationship we have with ourselves. When we don't have our needs met as a result of adverse childhood experiences, we don't trust our own body to tell us when it needs something. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about a whole list of books. We're going to briefly cover a whole list of books that will help you in this journey. And then if you're interested in learning more about these books, or just adding to the conversation down in the comment section or in the chat box, if you happen to be here live, which, by the way, this is a live weekly discussion. And if you're not here live, then we're going to be interacting with one another, and you can take the information that you like and just leave the rest. But please just be kind and respectful, and don't complain in the comment section about all the talking. And wow, that's 5 or 6 minutes of her just rambling on. It's like, first of all, I ramble on sometimes because that's my own CPTSD, healing from complex trauma and sexual exploitation and sexual abuse and all kinds of other crazy stuff. And then it's also just my way of sort of dealing with nerves about, just being on camera. I mean, yes, I've been doing this for almost 5 years, but it doesn't mean that I don't show up on camera and get a little nervous and sometimes ramble on a bit. So if you don't like that, don't subscribe. It's so funny, you guys. I get all these ugly, ugly messages, right? And then invariably, I'll post that I'm going to be recording a video for the following week. And then before I even record the video, I have people who have thumbs down the video. And I'm like, really? Like, if you guys find this video helpful whatsoever and you want to give it a thumbs up, fantastic. If you want to vote thumbs down after you watch it, I totally respect that. But please, whether you vote thumbs up or thumbs down, can you at least watch the video? Because the thumbs up and the thumbs down help YouTube know if the content I'm putting out is actually going to be helpful or relevant. And if you thumbs down my videos before I even record them, you're kind of screwing me over out the gate. Like, before I even record a video, like, YouTube's going to be like, what's the deal? You know what I mean? So anyway, that happens. But welcome to this live discussion. Welcome. We're here every single week. And over in the in the chat box right now, if you happen to be here live on Monday, January 21st, 2019, when we're recording this live, then one of our moderators, Poppy, is over posting some crisis information. YouTube is never a place for crisis care. I'm just here to be a place of support and help. I want you to know that you're not alone if you're struggling with certain things, if you're struggling with self-care, if you're struggling from healing from adverse childhood experiences, if you're living with CPTSD symptoms and you're feeling hopeless or helpless, or like just you're in despair, or you're just feeling dissociated and numb, and you have an exaggerated startle response, and all your relationships are in turmoil, and you're unable to learn how to balance a checkbook or have a savings account, or your job's in jeopardy because of things that are going on with your PTSD symptoms, or your relationship with your children is in turmoil, or perhaps your relationship with your intimate partner is really, there's a lot of friction there, or maybe you're just wanting to be on a personal growth journey and learn how to navigate and manage these symptoms that you might have that are CPTSD symptoms or complex trauma symptoms. And you are putting two and two together and linking that they might be connected to your adverse childhood experiences. This is a safe place to work all that out. But the way we keep it a safe place is just by saying all this and rambling on for a few minutes and welcoming everyone. So super happy that you've chosen to be here if you're here live on January 21st, 2019. And if you're here on a replay, I'm so happy that you've decided to watch this. In a few minutes, I will be sharing a screen share with a list of different books that have helped me in my own personal trauma recovery journey and that were recommended by several of you, our community members. And other trauma therapists have recommended these books. A couple of these books are recommended by Bessel van der Kolk, the author of Body Keeps the Score, one of the pioneers of attachment trauma and healing complex PTSD. And a couple of these books are recommended, and one of them is even by Peter Levine, Waking the Tiger Within. And, he's one of, again, the pioneers of complex trauma recovery. Pete Walker, Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving. You guys, Babette Rothschild. I mean, she's written seminal work. And one of the books that we're mentioning today is the book that we're going through on our book club, the book club on CPTSD Foundation. And it's $5 a month. And you get to come every single week and have a discussion about this book club. And the $5 a month doesn't include the cost of the book. You have to get your own book, which is, you can find it on Amazon. You can buy a hard copy, or, oh, here, I have it right here. This is the book that I'm talking about. Actually, these are a couple of the books that I'm talking about today. One of them is Childhood Disrupted, but this is the one by Gretchen Schmelzer, Dr. Gretchen Schmelzer. And she wrote Journey Through Trauma, a trail guide to the 5-phase cycle, healing repeated trauma. So the definition of CPTSD, the very definition of complex trauma, is an ongoing trauma that happens over a long period of time. It's ongoing over a long period of time. And that's one aspect of it. And then there's an uneven power dynamic. Up here is this person that you were unable to get away from. Either that was you thought you couldn't get away from them, or you really couldn't because maybe you were little and they were big. There's an uneven power dynamic, and there's trauma or adverse experience going on for a long period of time, and it's interpersonal in nature, meaning that it's you and another person. So that's complex trauma. That's complex PTSD. And that's a result of what Gretchen Schmelzer talks about as healing repeated trauma. It happens over and over and over and over again over a long period of time, right? So this is a great book. We've been going through it on our book club, and lots of books that we're going to talk about today are going to help you with your own self-care journey. And there are a couple of self-care journals that I was going to list on this particular video, but I didn't want to list them unless I physically received them and was able to look through them and make sure that the self-care journals that I found were from a trauma-informed perspective. Because some self-care journals use language that can be minimizing without even knowing it. Like let's get over this and let's move on. Like let's stop hanging out in the past, and let's just forget about the past and move on. Like There was one self-care journal I found that sort of had something very similar to that, amazing language, and that tells you that you just need to move on. You deserve to sit with, feel, acknowledge, and have validated for you that what happened really did happen and that it matters. You matter. Your voice matters. So please just know that that's my heart, and that's why there are no journals on this particular list. But I do have some other questions that we were going to be answering last week along with this list of books. So I'm not taking questions tonight, or if you do send in questions tonight about the books, I will answer them next week. So I'm a little bit behind, because if you all remember, last week I popped over into the chat box right before the video started, about 15 minutes prior, and I let you know that one of my husband's very dear friends that he's known from middle school, high school, university, they've been together since they were teenagers, and they actually moved to the Hawaiian Islands here where I live together back in 1975, and they're both still here. He lives about 5 minutes from us, and he had a massive heart attack and has had triple bypass surgery, and he is right now in the intensive care unit. He might be able to go home soon, but he's still in critical care. And so I wasn't here recording a video for you because my husband and I hopped in the car and we went to go visit him because he was going to be having surgery on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. my time. So there was no way we were going to be able to make it over there before his surgery. And we wanted to make sure that we could see him and tell him we love him and that we're praying for him, and just in case he didn't make it through his surgery. So thanks for understanding. I really missed being here with you guys, but I'm so happy to be back. And maybe that, in retrospect, is why the video got a thumbs down, because I didn't show up. I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't not show up because I didn't want to be here with you guys. I didn't show up because I needed to be somewhere like in person with my husband, with somebody who was going to be going and having their ribs sawed open and their chest pried open and their heart removed and then bypassed and then put back in. And like, it was just, it's a lot, you guys. It's a lot. It's a lot. So I have a screen share for you, but I also have some questions that are coming in. Any questions that come in tonight, I want to thank you, Hunter, for sending in your question tonight. And I will get to these questions if I can tonight. If not, they will come in tomorrow, because there's no questions that I'm going to be able to answer tonight, except for the ones from 2 weeks ago when we were discussing, what were we discussing 2 weeks ago? Oh my gosh, what was our topic? Can you guys tell? Like, seriously. Oh, I'm blanking. See, like, you know how when you go through something and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't remember anything. So I'm forgetting where I left off. I think we were talking about self-care. We were talking about adverse childhood experiences that lead to complex PTSD symptoms, and how do we take care of ourselves as a survivor of complex trauma that is living with CPTSD symptoms as a result of adverse childhood experiences. So, and then the questions that were coming in were about, I got one from Guayanes, and I know I answered that one. That was about motivation. And then I believe I answered Hunter regarding expressive self-care modalities. And then I answered Willow's question about participating in toxic relationships, even though, like, we want to be a safe person. Oh, and then John Harvey asked, what books can you recommend on good self-care? And I said, I'm so glad you asked, because that's next week's topic, which was last week, but then now it's this week. So, and then, so we skipped John Harvey's question so that we could do that tonight. And then Rhonda said, why is it common for males and females to start later on in life to recall their trauma that was long forgotten? What can trigger that? And we talked about that at length, as far as like the memories and like when they come. And then I believe we left off right there, because Tracy Jarrett has a question after that. And then Vi had a question, and Deborah Herendine had a question, Francesca had a question. And then Declan had a question. And then tonight, Hunter has a question. Athena, hello. Hello. How can we cope with the frustration of loved ones refusing to read a trauma recovery book? And in my case, The Body Keeps the Score, to learn about what happened. Oh, that's a frustrating one. I will answer that after the screen share. And then John Harvey says, how to pick the right book on self-care for yourself. And then we'll answer that question. If I can get to all the questions tonight, we will get to all the questions tonight. But first, I have a screen share for you. And I just want to throw this out there right now. This screen share has a list of a lot of different books that are going to potentially help you. Many of them will be covered in our book club, which is awesome. But if you would not like to be in a book club and you're just like, psh, not really, I just want to read it on my own, then what you can do is you can email me personally, info@cptsdfoundation.org, and say, Athena, I would like links to these books. I would like links. Could you send me just this list, but with the links to just easily be able to find them online somewhere? Or how can I get a copy of that? So just send me your email address, or just send me an email, info@cptsdfoundation.org. And then in the subject line, just put books. And then I'll make sure that you get a list for that. We're setting up something on the website where you'll be able to click and get access to the screen shares that I use, similar to how we used to do with the No More Shame Project. But for right now, email me, info@cptsdfoundation.org, and I'll make sure you get a list of those books along with links to those books. Okay? So without further ado, I have that list for you here, and I can't wait to share it with you. So thank you again for being here. Welcome. This is a place that is safe for you to discuss whatever it is that you're struggling with regarding complex trauma recovery. And I have this list here of books that will help aid in your self-care journey as you're healing from adverse childhood experiences. So here we go. Let me know if you guys can see this okay. I hope you can see that. There we go. All right. So we're talking about books to support self-care while healing from adverse childhood experiences and complex trauma, also known as CPTSD symptoms. Recovery from adverse childhood experiences is both challenging and complex. As a complex trauma survivor, we don't have the skills, education, or knowledge of trauma and healing that we need to feel empowered in our recovery. And then there's this little link here that I found on Wikipedia, and it's about psychoeducation. And this channel is basically a psychoeducational channel. And what psychoeducation is, it's an evidence-based therapeutic intervention for patients and their loved ones that provides information and support to better understand and cope with illness. And in this case, mental illness, because complex trauma and CPTSD symptoms are considered a mental illness. Now, it's not legitimately listed in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual 5th edition, the DSM-5, which is what is used in the United States. However, it is listed in the ICD-11, which is used in other countries. So let's see here. Let's discuss the power of psychoeducational materials about adverse childhood experiences, both how they affect us and how we can heal from them. Knowledge about complex trauma, managing CPTSD symptoms, and how to recover are essential to a survivor's healing. So here we go. Born for Love, Why Empathy is Essential, and Endangered by Bruce Perry Solovitz. I think I'm saying that right. Boundaries, one of my favorite ones that you guys know that I talk about a lot. When to Say Yes, How to Say No by Henry Cloud and John Townsend. Childhood Disrupted, How Your Biography Becomes Your Biology and How You Can Heal by Donna Jackson Nakazawa. Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving, A Guide and Map for Recovering from Childhood Trauma by Pete Walker. Journey Through Trauma, A Trail Guide to the 5-Phase Cycle of Healing Repeated Trauma by Gretchen Schmelzer. Don't Try This Alone, The Silent Epidemic of Attachment Disorder by Kathy Browse. 8 Keys to Safe Trauma Recovery, Take Charge Strategies to Empower Your Healing by Babette Rothschild. Getting Through What You Can't Get Over, Stories, Tips, and Inspiration to Help You Move Past Your Pain and Into Lasting Freedom by Anita Eggers Brooks. I want to pause for just a second and just tell you that this particular book here has been especially helpful in my trauma recovery journey. I actually got to read an advanced copy, like from the author, an advanced reader copy. And it was very, very, very helpful for me. And I got a chance to meet with and talk to the author and just ask her questions. And if you think it would be helpful, I could maybe bring her on and she can answer questions for you guys as well. Getting Through What You Can't Get Over. Really, really validating book, not minimizing. And it is written from a biblical or Christian perspective. So just heads up on that one. But it was very, very helpful for me. My faith, I believe, is why I'm even alive today. And I don't mean that from like a weird legalistic, my beliefs are better than your beliefs type of a way at all. Like I'm so overly and just beyond respectful of anyone's beliefs. Whatever helps you stay alive and feel better and heal, that is your path. That is your journey. For me, my path and my journey is rooted and grounded in my relationship with what I call God. And Anita was able to answer some really good questions about that for me and how my childhood trauma, my adverse childhood experiences within the context of my family of origin caused me to doubt what I believed. It caused me to doubt who God was. And if God is God, why did he allow me and so many others to be abused and exploited and trafficked and nearly killed? Why? Why? And I was able to have those real discussions. And not in a minimizing way either. There were no ridiculous, lame Jesus Band-Aids, like let's just stick a little pretty Band-Aid on that bullet wound there while you gush and hemorrhage out of all your orifices and just, read you a couple scriptures and send you on your way. Like those weren't the types of conversations I had with her. They were real conversations. And so anyway, I just thought I would expound upon that and let you know. The next book is called It Didn't Start With You, How Inherited Family Trauma Shapes Who We Are and How to Heal by Mark Woolen. And these 2 books in bold are specifically for men. These are for male survivors, and these will help you. The first one is Iron Man Family Outing, Poems About Transition into a More Conscious Manhood by Rick Belden. The second one is Joining Forces, Empowering Male Survivors to Thrive by Howard Fradkin. I think that might be Franken. Maybe it is Fradkin. Now I'm having a hard time remembering. The next one is one of my other favorites that helped me in the very beginning of my trauma recovery journey, and it's called Love is a Choice, the definitive book on letting go of unhealthy relationships by Robert Hernfeldt, Frank Minerth, and Paul Meyer. Rescuing the Inner Child. Now, trigger warning on this one. It is great for self-care because you do learn a lot. You do learn a lot about whatever has gone on in your life, especially for any of you who are dealing with CSA. This book will help you, but it is also going to be triggering for you because part of trauma is you're healing through the trauma. We don't heal over, around, or under. We actually heal through the trauma. We walk through it. And we don't necessarily have to relive all of our traumatic experiences, but we do have to sit with, acknowledge, and accept what it is that's happened to us if we're ever going to heal. And so if you are going to be reading Rescuing the Inner Child, Therapy for Adults Who Are Sexually Abused as Children by Penny Parks, please just practice excellent self-care, which you can do by reading a lot of these other books. And I will do a revised video on this topic when I get the self-care journals that I ordered. When they arrive here, I ordered them on Amazon. The next one is The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma by Bessel van der Kolk. One of the best books ever to ever be written regarding adverse childhood experiences. I truly hope that you guys will take the time to read, even if your family won't. I hope you will read Body Keeps the Score, because it will help you understand why you have felt the way you have felt for so long. The next book is The Body Remembers, The Psychophysiology of Trauma and Trauma Treatment by Babette Rothschild. The next one is The Sexual Healing Journey, A Guide for Survivors of Sexual Abuse by Wendy Malls. Too Scarred to Cry, Psychic Trauma in Childhood by Lenore Terr. Trigger Points, Childhood Abuse Survivors' Experiences of Parenting by Dawn Daum and Joelle Brandt. And lastly, Waking the Tiger, Healing Trauma by Peter Levine. So you guys, I'm really hoping that this list of books will be really helpful for you in your trauma recovery journey. I also hope that, here we go. I really hope that we can go through and just discuss, if you guys do decide to read any of those, which ones were helpful for you. And I would really love to make an update to this video when I get the self-care journals from Amazon. So because journaling is a part of our healing journey, it really helps us a lot. And I would love to know just how your journaling is going. And I know on Katie Morton's channel, she offers journal prompts, and journal prompts help a lot of people who are healing trauma. So let me just peek over and see how you guys are doing. Let's see. So I have questions from Hunter, John Harvey, and Deborah Herendine. And I will get to these questions. In fact, if you want, you guys, I can answer the questions that are on tonight's topic, and then I can try to do a separate video on all the other questions that came in on the topic of self-care. Let me click over and see if you guys would prefer for me to do that. It's always, I always just want to make sure what you guys prefer. Let's see here. Make sure what you guys prefer. Let's see here. It's always really weird to hear your own voice, don't you think? Seriously. Yes, dissociation is horrible, Star Child. My goodness. Yes. Kira says Katie Morton's journal prompts are great. They really are. Tatum Shirley says, hello. Great to see you, Tatum Shirley. Okay, so Hunter says, answering tonight's questions on the topic of books sounds good. And then I can make another video answering all the questions from last week on self-care. Yes. Email me at info@cptsdfoundation.org. And in the subject line, put the word books, and I'll make sure you get a list of all these books along with links. Easy links. You can just click and go. Okay, so Deborah Herendine would like an answer to her question from 2 weeks ago. Okay, I can try to do both. I'll do my very best. I'm a volunteer, you all. I'll do the very best I can. Let me see. Declan says, dissociation isn't horrible when you've been your whole life like that. Being present is difficult. Being present is so difficult. I know I struggle with dissociation as well sometimes, and it is frustrating. I wish that I could dissociate less. In fact, lately, as I've been checking in with my body more often, I've been dissociating less. But I do agree, Declan, that being present is for self-care. I'm still having a lot of struggle with that. Yes, absolutely. So I do have a couple of books that are specifically on the topic of self-care. But like, I wanted to make sure, like, because self-care is a general term that's not necessarily a trauma-informed term. So I'm waiting on a couple of journals, and I uploaded to my Kindle, like my Kindle app, another book on self-care. But you would be surprised at some of the things that people write under the umbrella of self-care, but then it's not trauma-informed because it's not necessarily trauma-informed self-care, right? It's different. Self-care is different than trauma-informed self-care. So, oh, Curious George says, I don't read that well. Do any of these come in an audio style? I have a learning disability, so it's hard to follow things. Even these videos go a bit fast for me. Absolutely. A lot of these will have links to where you can order like an audio book. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that we could, I'll include that link. So just email me if you guys want a list. Pretty soon I'll have a link on the website where you'll just click on the website and then you'll be able to click and say, I want that. But for right now, for today, for January 21st, 2019, I don't have a link to give you that would be like, I want that list of books. Click the link and then you get the list of books. I don't have that link yet, but we'll get it to you very, very, very soon. Declan says, book recommendation, Corrine Hootsabout has books on organized abuse and criminal psychology. I have read one of her papers, Declan. She is brilliant. Let's see here. Sharon asks, Matt, can you post the list and links to the daily support group website members area also? Well, not everyone here on Mondays, on our Monday night videos, are members, so they wouldn't be able to log in and get it. But for those of you who are daily recovery support members, like, you'll be able to access all of it. It'll just be over in the members area for you. But those of you who are not members of Daily Recovery Support, then you can email me personally and I will send you a list or a link to just easily grab the list. info@cptsdfoundation.org. Ooh, Margarita says, may I suggest Overcoming Trauma Through Yoga, Reclaiming Your Body by Emerson and Hopper. Bessel van der Kolk's colleague. Wow. I'm going to screenshot this and I'm going to look into that. Thank you, Margarita. Margarita Andreeva. Or is it Margarita Andreeva? I want to make sure I'm saying it right. It's about trauma-sensitive yoga, truly validating and full of self-care gems for CPTSD survivors. Thank you so much. Oh, Deborah Herendine says, I use the 5-minute daily gratitude app for journaling. That is so cool. Deborah, do you have a link to that? Vi says, if you answer the questions from 2 weeks ago, you can answer it with a book recommendation. Smiley face. Yeah. Oh, okay, you guys. Poking Holes, CPTSD Warrior, is recommending the Soaring Self-Love Journal. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Take that back. Erase, delete, 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 delete. She wants me to check that out to see if it's trauma-informed. I will. That might be one of the ones I already ordered. That might be one of the ones I already ordered. We need to connect. You and I need to connect. We need to do a video together. That would be incredible. Can you imagine like how many people we could help? Yes, Vi, please do put a list. Please do put a list. Thank you for taking a screenshot. Huh. Thank you for deleting the trolls message, Poppy. Yeah, so John Harvey says, can symptoms of being a survivor as a kid get mixed up with a learning disability? Absolutely, yes. Declan also recommends a book list on the website DISSOS blog. For instance, Growing Beyond Survival by Elizabeth Vermilia. That's awesome. Yes, thank you. Ooh, Curious George says, is there a book that will help find a therapist? I have CPTSD and a learning disability and a rare neurological disorder. I'm unresponsive to medications and the therapist will turn me down. Okay, Curious George, email me what you just wrote. I have a list that I have not put up on the website yet, but it is trauma. It's a trauma-informed list, and it focuses a lot on attachment, like therapists that are really good with attachment disorder. And many of them also specialize in learning disabilities, and many of them are trauma-informed, even though they don't necessarily know what complex PTSD is yet because it's not legit in the United States. So Guayanas, one of the best books that is going to be great for I think one of the best forms of self-care, Guayanas, is educating ourselves about trauma and its effects on us. And so, for instance, the Love is a Choice by Minertha Meyer book and the Boundaries book. Like, if I could recommend one book to you, Guayanas, that will be good for your self-care, that will change your life forever, someone please tag Guayanas and let them know that I'm talking to them. Because Guayanas wants to know a book specifically for self-care. So if I had to recommend one book that's on this list, I would say Boundaries. Boundaries by Cloud and Townsend. Townsend and Cloud. Boundaries. That is the best book that will change your life forever. That one and Safe People, which is not necessarily on this list. And the reason Safe People is not necessarily on this list is because there are some illustrations in the Safe People book which could feel minimizing to someone who's lived through repeated ongoing abuse from a family member. There are some examples in the Safe People book that are eerily familiar and triggering for someone who has lived through what you all have lived through, what I have lived through. So you're so welcome, Guayanas. Guayanas, like I want to see the pinky promise emoji from you, Guayanas. You guys, 2019 is the year of self-care. Like, do you pinky promise? Like, I need some pinky promises up in here. De La Marcus Cardio 3 wants to know what up. What up? Yeah, Guayanas, pinky promise that you're going to read the Boundaries book and let me know how many light bulb moments you have, even after you read the first couple chapters. Life changing, mind blown, for real. It will change your whole world. Thanks for hiding the Channel 7 news. Yay. All right. Gadir, Guayanas, Margarita. Woohoo. Yes. Curious George, Rhonda. Can someone please delete De La Marcus? Because I ain't nobody's baby mama. This is the place for trauma survivors to heal and get support. You're not welcome here. Yes, the Boundaries books are awesome and definitely life-changing, says Purposeful Life Coaching. Tabby Boss says, I pinky swear. Yay. Okay. So Deborah wants an answer to her question from 2 weeks ago. I know, so many trolls tonight. What's the deal for real? Seriously, you all. So Deborah wants to answer to her question from 2 weeks ago, and then Hunter says it's cool to answer the questions from tonight. So what I'll do, let me get out of here. I will go back to Deborah's question from 2 weeks ago, and then I will answer. So Tracy Jarrett asked 2 weeks ago, because last week there was an emergency and I couldn't be here. How can I even get any kind of motivation when I have so much self-hate? So self-hatred is something that was taught to us, just so you all know. It was taught to us. We were programmed to hate ourselves, not because someone said, you need to hate yourself. That's not what was said to you. The reason that we have self-hatred and self-loathing and we don't take care of ourselves, it's not because someone said, you need to hate yourself. It's because they said, through words, actions, and withholding of love and manipulative tactics, you are responsible for everything. You're responsible for me, for my feelings. You need to be psychic and figure out when I'm going to be upset, when I'm going to be happy. You need to predict the climate of the room. You need to walk on eggshells. You need to make sure you don't make anybody mad. You need to not upset the apple cart. You need to not air anyone's dirty laundry. You need to keep secrets. You need to keep what's in the family in the family. It's nobody else's business. You need to do whatever you can to make sure that everyone is happy all the time. And by the way, you're also my therapist. So when I have problems, I'm going to dump them on you. And you don't really need help with your homework or anything that's going on at school, because that doesn't matter. You have chores to do. And no, you don't have birthday parties that you get to go to on the weekend, because you have weeds to pull. And your sister needs this and your brother needs that. And I never told you that you could go to that birthday party. Yes, you did. I asked you 2 weeks ago. Nope, you're remembering it wrong. All that I just said to you, that is why you hate yourself, Tracy Jarrett. That's why we all have self-hatred and self-loathing, because our reality as we knew it was denied and skewed and manipulated and controlled. Tracy Jarrett, the moment that you draw a line in the sand with the help of all of us, your family, your friendly family of choice, you draw a line in the sand and you step over it and there's no coming back. There's no going back. Pinky swear, pinky promise. And you say, I, Tracy Jarrett, believe that my sanity is more important than anyone's approval and control. My sanity matters more than their approval and their control. Their approval of me no longer matters, and they're no longer allowed to control me, because my sanity matters more than that. And we can all help you with that every week. Here, every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So the reason that we don't have motivation, and that our motivation is drowned out by self-hatred and self-loathing, is because anytime we feel spontaneously good about something or motivated by something, when that happened when we were younger, we were told that, I never said that. I never said you could go to that birthday party. I never said you could go to that track meet. I never said that you could go to the movies with your friends. You have stuff to do. Oh, you think you're going? Oh, I know I told you you could go, but I changed my mind. You're grounded. Why am I grounded? And it's obviously some reason that maybe an alcoholic family member, you know, in the midst of all of your walking on eggshells, trying to predict the climate of every room and make sure everything is done just perfect and it wasn't perfect enough, that's why you're grounded. That's why you can't go to the movies. That's why you hate yourself at age 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. That's why all of us are here together. Because our reality was denied and manipulated by people who had an agenda of wanting to control us, get us to hustle for their approval enough times, and they have complete control over us. Why? Because we're addicted to their approval. We need their approval to survive. We need them to smile. We need them to glance. We need them to nod. We need them to be okay with us. We need them to invite us to Thanksgiving. We need them to give us the nod, to say everything's okay. We need them to pay for stuff, or we need them to be there for us. It's not worth it. It's no longer important. You are important, Tracy, and all of you. Their approval doesn't matter more than your sanity. Your sanity means more. I hope all of you believe that, because I pinky swear that it's true. I pinky promise that that's true. Okay? Deborah Herendine says, how does a person self-care when one is in a dissociative state? Ooh, this is a good question. Now I see why you wanted an answer to it, Deborah. So, you all, it is impossible. Deborah wants to know how we can take care of ourselves and practice excellent self-care if we're in a dissociative state. If we're in a dissociative state, we're unable to take care of ourselves because we have surrendered to that state. We are dissociated for a reason, either because something triggered us, something feels familiar, and so we go into that dissociative state, or see, and this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one, Deborah, because when you were a child, this is two sides to the same coin. The answer now is that you can't practice excellent self-care as an adult if you're in a dissociative state. However, the catch-22 is the reason you're alive is because you practice excellent self-care when you were younger while you were in a dissociative state. All dissociation is a trauma response and a maladaptive coping strategy in adulthood that kept you alive in childhood. So you're a child, Joey or Jane, hanging out. All of a sudden something scary happens, or someone scary is around us, a scary situation. Joey or Jane goes into a dissociative state. Part of Joey or Jane stays present to sort of function as though everything is normal, and they stay present with whatever this traumatizing thing is, this scary thing that's going on. But the real you, Deborah, is dissociated. You're hidden away. There was a split, and your psyche, your soul, your self was protected from this scary, traumatizing thing by this other version of you, one of your younger parts, that protected you and acted as you so that your brain wouldn't explode, so that you wouldn't die. So the reason you're alive is because of self-care in the form of dissociation as a child. The reason we struggle in adulthood when we are stuck in a dissociative state is because we need to be able to practice self-care and be mindful and fully present in our bodies. Being mindful and being fully present in our bodies is a difficult, painful thing to do if we haven't worked through our trauma and if we don't have trauma-informed care by a licensed professional who is trauma-informed. So please don't try that alone. Please don't try that alone. But just know that there are ways when you feel fully present, like I feel, Deborah, that you are fully present when you message me here on Mondays and you ask questions. And when I see you in our groups, I can sense that you're there. Like I received an email from you regarding some resources. I could sense that that was you, the adult you that I know, not necessarily one of your littles. Okay? So in those moments when you're at your most fully functioning adult self that you would consider to be your adult self, or what in the DID community, what they call the host. So I would write down basic things. I love cheesecake. I don't love chocolate. I smell flowers. I like trees. My favorite hobbies are, my favorite movie is, my favorite television show is. Fully journal things about yourself, your self, your host self, the self that I know. And that way, if you're into a younger place and you're dissociated and you're reading that journal, there can be, as we show up for ourselves in our fully adult selves, more and more and more and more and more, our younger selves begin to trust us and know that we're going to be able to take care of them. And that is when integration occurs. That's when integration occurs, not incurs, occurs. So the way you can practice excellent self-care when you're dissociated is by preparing when you're fully present in your best adult self and journaling and almost leaving notes or cookie crumbs for your littles to know that you're okay and that they're going to be okay when they get older. I hope that makes sense, Deborah. Great question. Great question. Okay. So Vi has a question from 2 weeks ago. Francesca and Declan. And then for tonight, Anna 2 Digital says, I tend to dissociate when I go outside. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry that you tend to dissociate when you go outside. It could be, I don't know your diagnosis or if you have any type of a comorbid diagnoses or if you have a trauma-informed therapist or who your practitioner might be or what you've discussed. If you have a trauma-informed licensed professional that you are seeing on a weekly or biweekly basis, I would let them know that you tend to dissociate when you go outdoors. And they can see how many of the boxes you tick for perhaps social anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. And then they can help you manage those symptoms so that you don't struggle and dissociate every time you go outside. So I just want you to know that there is help, but I want you to get excellent help, not just any help, but excellent help. Deborah says, is there a good self-care book to read while you're doing CBT? Yes, Boundaries. If you're doing CBT, CBT stands for cognitive behavioral therapy. It's a way of reframing negative cognitions into a positive statement that feels true to our bodies, and it will help you with self-loathing, self-hatred, those types of things. But when you read the Boundaries book, Deborah, and you match up these new ideas about what is possible, Boundaries would be an excellent book for you, Deborah. Boundaries, if you're doing CBT, and Love is a Choice. Love is a Choice is one of those things that gives so many broad examples. I really think that you would appreciate both of those books, Deborah. Boundaries by Townsend and Cloud and Love is a Choice by Minerth and Meyer. Yes. So John Harvey wants to know how to pick the right book on self-care for yourself. So the only way you're going to find that self-care book that's best for you, I think, is if you get to know yourself, John Harvey. And I know we've talked about getting to know yourself quite a bit, like over in the groups. And if you guys need support, we have free Facebook groups that you're welcome to be involved in. All you have to do is email my assistant, Lisa, or no, all you have to do is go to cptsdfoundation.org. Don't email my assistant, Lisa. Go to cptsdfoundation.org. And then I think you can click on groups or safe community. And there are some questions there. And then my assistant, Lisa, will get back to you once you answer those questions. That's the way to do it. So that's free support on Facebook. And that's, something that if you want access to that, and if you want to have conversations like these that are life-changing on a daily basis, then go to cptsdfoundation.org and click on daily calls, because I lead discussions like this or co-lead them every single day, 365 days a year and you are welcome to join us. They're life changing. Your whole trauma recovery will be different. Or nothing will change. Stay here. And I will see you every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. And we'll have a chat about CPTSD. But so John Harvey, getting to know yourself is going to be the best way that you're going to be able to find that perfect self-care book for you. And I think the way we get to know ourselves the best is by journaling about our thoughts and feelings. And Matt actually has some really good tracker sheets. We might have the tracker sheets at cptsdfoundation.org, but I don't know. I think we do. I think we have the tracker sheets. I'll have to post it in the groups for you, John Harvey, a link to those tracker sheets, just tracking our emotions, tracking our feelings, tracking how it is that we're showing up and what's affecting us. And then journaling about what it is that we're feeling and the progress we're making. When we get to know ourselves, I didn't know who I was or what I liked and what I didn't like until, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I mean, I'm 45 years old. That's kind of embarrassing. I think I started to really learn who I was and what I loved and what I didn't like, etc., right around the time I turned 40. I think I was pretty dissociated for most of the time prior to that, especially not while I was mothering my son. When I was mothering my son up until 2010, I was fully present and there was no dissociation going on in my life. I had moments when things were really, really, really stressful, but because I had my child to take care of and I was bent on breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma, which I did successfully, and I knew that he needed a fully present human to help like set that example for him because I never had an example. So I was fully present in my life up until the time I was like 37. And so here, from 38 to 40, that 2-year period, I had a traumatic break with reality. I had multiple breakdowns. I was suicidal multiple times. I had literally convinced myself that my life would be better if I somehow drove my car off of this embankment cliff area where I live. And I was like trying to figure out a way to make it look like an accident, like that it was just like totally, oops, I didn't mean for that to happen. When you get to that point and you have this plan and you're just like, don't wait till you get to that place in your life. I was so dissociated and I was in so much pain. I didn't know who I was apart from being a mother. I didn't know what I liked, what I didn't like. I didn't know if I was thirsty or hungry. And if I was thirsty or hungry, what did I want to drink or eat? You guys, the struggle is real. Like, I just didn't know. How was I supposed to know? Right? So I just want you to know that like, that was my life up until I was like 40. And so from like 2013 to 2014, radical trauma recovery, radical EMDR, just digging up of old stuff, new memories. Then my dad died a few months later, 2 months later. And I had a whole new wave of memories of just exploitation and family of origin, horrific trauma that was brought on by the death of my father. And then just the last 3 years, I've sort of just been like, staying as fully present in my body as I possibly can. The only times I dissociate are if something happens in a movie or a show that I don't realize has triggered me into a dissociative state until I've bitten all my fingernails off, then I'm like, oh, wow, that was unexpected dissociation. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I was doing that. Or I know that I have predictable bouts of dissociation when I shower because I had such horrific trauma happen in bathrooms. And so, especially shower. So, I just think, John Harvey, getting to know yourself getting to know what you like, what you dislike, what you want, what you don't want, what you enjoy, what you don't enjoy, what scares you, what brings you joy, what causes you sadness, what causes you to laugh out loud, belly laugh. You're a very funny, so much to offer the planet. I mean, just your presence in our community is a joy and a light. So my hope and my prayer is that you would get to know yourself in such a way that you could enjoy yourself as much as I enjoy you, as much as we all enjoy you. So I hope that's helpful. Hunter says how to cope with the frustration that loved ones are refusing to read a recovery book. In my case, it's The Body Keeps the Score by Bessel van der Kolk. Hunter's saying his family has no interest in learning about what happened to him. And sadly, Hunter, there is nothing you can do but to cope with that frustration. I would surround yourself by more people like me, more people like the people you see right now in the chat box, like Poking Holes, CPTSD Warrior, Guayana's, Malta McMurchie, Deborah Herendine, Poppy, Shannon O'Brien, Matt, Jeffrey Sherman, Declan, Angela M, Willow, just there's so many of you, Vi, Monica, CV, Diane, aka Farrell. There's so many, you all. Margarita, Marilena Diaz, even Gadir. Gosh, there's so many. Like, surround yourself more. Sabra, surround yourself more with people like us who love you and care for you and want what's best for you. And we will build up the good pile, right? We'll build up the good pile, and then it won't make the pain go away that your family doesn't care. That pain will always be there, but we will offset it with things that cause you less pain, and you will eventually not need their validation and approval. Eventually. Right now, it's still fresh. It's okay that you still need their validation and approval. It's okay that this hurts. It's okay that you're frustrated. It's okay that it's painful. We understand, and we're here with you. Okay? Because that's hard. That is so painful, you guys. Let's see here. Declan wants to know, how can we help with abuse prevention? Does peer support contribute to abuse prevention? I believe that peer support does contribute to abuse prevention. It's one of my favorite ways to contribute to abuse prevention because peer support raises awareness, right? When we are supporting one another, we become stronger and we feel more bold in reaching out and supporting other people, which raises awareness. We see somebody struggling, we offer them the support of the peer group that we have. They realize, oh my gosh, what in the world? I didn't know that there was this peer support group. Like, I feel invincible. I feel understood and validated. And I can't believe I feel welcome for the first time in my life. And then they tell more people who tell more people who tell more people who tell more people. Declan, I almost feel like I could have asked you, like, Declan, ask this question. This is the perfect question to ask. And it feels almost like self-serving to talk about how amazing peer support is for abuse prevention. My life has been different since January 2014 when I found a hashtag on Twitter. Everything you guys know of me and have seen of me on camera and off camera is a result of a hashtag on social media. And all that was peer support. So I owe my life in part to peer support. So that's how strongly I feel, Declan, about peer support. Look how much I'm doing to prevent abuse and to help people. I have a global organization helping thousands of people in 180 countries, and we're growing. All because of a hashtag, all because of someone who was doing peer support. Unbelievable, the power of peer support. Unbelievable. Saves lives. So thank you for asking that. There are so many other questions that I didn't get a chance to answer. There's so many other questions, you guys. We're going to have to come back next week because we're already at time. It's already an hour, more than an hour. So I hope I see you next Monday and every Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right here. And thank you for sticking around this long if you're still here. There are still almost 40 of you here. So if you want to vote for this video, thumbs up or thumbs down. Since you've got all the way to the end, I would appreciate if you would decide to vote. It will help YouTube know whether or not they should recommend these types of videos in the feed of other people that are searching for similar hashtags like ACEs and complex trauma, CPTSD, child abuse, all the different things that they search for, how to heal. It would mean a lot to me if you would vote for the video now that you've watched it. The thing that bothers me when people thumbs down my videos before I even say a word is because they don't even know what I'm going to say. Like they're just basically thumbs downing me as a human, which feels really crappy. Or they're thumbs downing themselves as a human, and they're projecting their self-hatred onto me, someone who's choosing to be public about their trauma recovery journey. That could be it. But still, it hurts. Like it stings a little, because I'm doing the best I can. And I don't really have the ability to not do the best I can. So anyway, thanks for being here. I will see you next Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Your presence in my life means a lot. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your lives. And please go to cptsdfoundation.org and just click around and see if there's anything you're interested in. It's my life's work. It's everything I'm doing, everything I care about. So I hope to see you there. Bye, everybody.